Hey everyone, welcome back to another video by Upgrade. Today we are diving into one of the most absolute basics of programming in Java, but also one of the most important, that is if-else statements. Now before you scroll away, let me tell you why this is essential. You are going to need this literally everywhere in the programming. We'll start with simplest form of an if statement, and then I'll show you how to use else and even else if to cover more complex situations. We will cover nested if-else and switch statements as well with hands-on examples. Now let me tell you, if you are looking forward to level up your Java skills, check out Upgrade's Masters in Computer Science program. It's the perfect way to advance your career. Check the link in the description to learn more. Now before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to never miss any update. So what are conditional statements in Java? Conditional statements in Java allow your program to decide what actions to take, similar to how you make choices in your day-to-day lives. They let the program decide what to do based on a certain conditions or situations. For example, if a specific condition is true, the program will take one path and execute a particular set of instructions. But if that condition isn't true, it can follow a different path and do something else. For example, if it's raining, you might decide to bring an umbrella, but if it's sunny, you might wear sunglasses. Similarly, conditional statements in Java allow your program to make choices based on specific conditions. This makes your program more dynamic and responsive, allowing it to handle different situations effectively. So this was about the conditional statements. Now let's understand the if statement first. So imagine the if statement as a gatekeeper in your program. It checks a condition, and if that condition is true, it lets you run the code inside it. It's called a one-way selection statement because it only goes one way. Either the condition is met and the code executes, or nothing happens at all. So when you use an if statement, you're basically saying, check this condition. If it's true, execute the following code, and if it's not true, just skip it and move on. Now let's have a look at its syntax. So for if condition or the if statement, there is an if keyword and then there is brackets. So inside the brackets, as we can see, there's a condition. So that condition needs to be satisfied, then only the code inside the body, that is the code inside the curly braces, will run. So it's as simple as that. Now as we can see on the screen, here's the first thing, here's the first scenario. Here int x equals to 6. So we have declared a variable x and we have assigned a value 6 to it. And as we can see, we have used if condition. Now the condition is x should be greater than 0. But as we know, we already assigned a value to x which is 6, and we know that 6 is greater than 0. So yeah, this condition is satisfied, and now the block or the body inside the curly braces inside if condition will run. Alright. So this condition is true and code will execute. Now coming to the second scenario. The second scenario, as we can have a look at it, here again we have assigned a value of 6 to x. But here the condition inside the if statement is different. Here x should be less than 0. X should be less than 0, then only the body inside the curly braces will execute, otherwise it will skip that part and execute the body after the if statement. And as we know that x is not less than 0, so this condition is not met, this condition is not satisfied. So it will skip the body of if condition and move to the body that is after the if statement. Alright, it is very simple. Now let's understand this with the help of an example. Alright, so this is our Eclipse IDE. Now here we'll do an example of simple if statement to make you guys understand. Alright, so as you can see, public class study is there. Now we will do public static void main. So this is the basic syntax. I hope you guys know it. We've already discussed this. Alright, now so here first of all we'll declare a variable, let's say age, and we'll assign a value. Let's say the age is 16. Alright, now here we'll use an if condition, and inside the if statement we'll put a condition, let's say age should be greater than equal to 18, that a person should be greater than or equal to 18, then only he or she would be eligible. So yeah, so here we'll simply print a message saying you are eligible or not. So we will double quotes. Inside the double quotes, first of all, let's say we want to mention the age. So this age variable, then plus operator, because we want to separate the part where we want to print something and the actual value. So inside the double quotes, we'll use you are eligible. So this message will be printed with the age. Alright. So here what we are doing is basically, if the age of the person is greater than equal to 18, for example, age is 18, 19, 20, 21 like that, then the message would be printed his age and you are eligible. But if the age is less than 18, then it will not print anything. So as we know, we have assigned 16 to age, so it will not print anything. So to let me show you guys, I'll just run this code. I've saved it and now run as first Java application. Again, let's try to run this. I think we have to remove this part. Now let's save it and let's try. Yeah, so as we can see, we have run this program, but it is not showing anything because we haven't printed for the else thing. So this if and else thing, I have discussed now the if part, the else thing will discuss the next. But let's say if the value over here is, let's say 20, then what should it print? As you can see, 20, you are eligible. Like if we want to make a difference in between 20 and you, we can use a space in between and save it. So now as we know that the value of age, that is 20, is greater than 18. So that is why this condition is met and this thing is getting printed, that is age and you are eligible is getting printed. But if the value is less than 18, then it will not print in this case. So this is basically a one-way, as we already discussed, a one-way thing. So if the condition is met, then only it will execute, otherwise it will not. Simple as that. Now let's understand the other part, which is if-else statement. So an if-else statement works like a decision with two possible outcomes. It first checks if a condition is true, and if it is, the code inside the if block runs. But if the condition is false, the program doesn't just stop. Instead, it moves to the else block and executes the code there. So you can think of it as giving your program two paths to follow. If this is true, do this, but if it is not true, do something else. It's a way to handle two different possibilities in your code, depending on whether the condition is met or not. So the syntax for if-else statement is similar to that of one, but here we'll use else block also. So as we can see, syntax is if statement, then there's a condition, then there's curly braces and the body of if statement. After that, there is an else block. Else block is for those, if the condition is not met, the code will come to the else block. As simple as that. So let's have a look at the first scenario here. We know the value of x is 25. So we have assigned a value 25 to x. We have declared a variable x and the value is 25. But the if condition says x should be greater than 0, which is true for x equals to 25, as we know that 25 is greater than equal to 0. So in this case, the block inside the if statement will run. The body inside the if statement will run in this case. But if the case of, let's say, x equals to minus 25, then what will it happen? I repeat, then what should happen? Let's have a look at it. So here, int x equals to 25. The value of x is 25 again, but now the value of x should be less than 0 according to if statement. And we know x is 25, which is not less than 0. In this case, if statement will not execute, but else block will execute. So whatsoever you write in the else block, that particular piece of code will execute instead of the if statement. So this is how if-else statement works. Simple as that. Now to understand the if-else statement, let's do some examples on them. Alright, we are back on Eclipse. Here we'll do example on if and else. Alright, so let's do one thing. We'll keep the other thing same, and here first we'll use a variable. Let's say the variable name is, let's say, number. Alright, the value of number is 15. We have assigned 15 to the variable number. Alright, now here we'll use if condition. The condition inside if is num mod 2, that is the remainder, should be equal to 0. That is, it should be perfectly divisible by 2, then only the remainder will be 0. Alright, now system.out.println, here again number, that is the variable name, plus operator to separate the part that we want to display is even. I mean, if the if condition is satisfied, then it will print is even after the mentioning the number. Alright, then here is the else block. So in the else block, again we'll write system.out.println. Here again number is there, then plus operator, here is odd. So here what we are doing is basically we have taken a number, we have basically declared a number, the number variable, and assigned a value of 15 to it as of now. But the condition here says the number variable should be perfectly divisible by 2. So basically it should be an even number, then only it should be perfectly divisible by 2. Alright, so as I already said that mod doesn't mean divide, it means it will give you the remainder of it. For example, if we'll divide 17 by 2, 2 8s are 16, so 1 is the remainder. But here the remainder should be 0. Alright, so in case of 15, as we know 15 is not an even number, it is an odd number. So in this case the remainder would be 1, as 2 7s are 14, so in this case the remainder should be 1. So this condition will not follow, but the code will go to the else block. So once the code goes into the else block, it will mention this particular number, that is 15, is odd. Simple as that. Now let's try to run this. We have saved the code. Now let's see. As you can see, 15 is odd, as we already mentioned. Now let's make it 18. Save it and again run it. 18 is even. Now let's say 21. Again save it, run it. 21 is odd. Again let's do it 22. As we know 22 is even, so it will print 22 is even. So this is basically the even odd program that you can do with the help of if else condition. It is very basic, you can try this program. Alright, now this was a basic example to make you guys understand how it works. Now let's do another example. So now we'll do another example in which we will understand one more thing, which is how to take the input basically. So here just we are printing something. Using the logic of if else, we are basically printing whether a number is even or that number is odd. That's it, but we are not taking any input out of it. So let's say I want to take an input, so what should I do? Alright, I want to take an input from the user, so what should I do? For that, first of all, you'll have to include a package which is import java.util_scanner. Alright, so basically let me tell you guys what it is. Util.scanner. So this is basically a package which is used when you want to take the input. Alright, so now we'll use the scanner class. So inside this package there's a scanner class. So the scanner class is a part of java.util package. It allows you to take input from various sources. Here we will create a scanner object called s. So the argument system.in that we will write, I'll show you guys while doing. Alright, first of all let me write scanner s equals new scanner. So this is basically the syntax. Now system.in. Alright, before taking the input, system.in. Now we will display a message saying enter the number you want to enter. Alright, system.out.println, and we know how to display a message, so it's pretty easy for you guys also. So it is enter the number. Alright, so this message will be displayed. Alright, once this message is displayed, then we will take the input. Input number equals to s dot next int. So s is the object basically, s dot next int. Alright, so this is where we are taking the input. Now here what we'll do is, So number is a variable and we are storing the number that is entered by the user to the number variable. Okay. Now we'll use a condition, if condition, basically if number mod 2, that is the remainder of number, is equal to 0. Double equal to means 0. Single equal to means assigning operator. Alright. So the remainder should be 0, which means it should be even. Alright. Again, that we have done previously. System.out.println. Here we'll write before this number plus operator, then is even. Alright. Now we'll go to else. In the else block, we'll do the same thing, just copy it and just paste it to save some time, is odd. Alright, I think you guys understand the basics of it, like how we are doing this. If a number is showing 0 as a remainder, it is even, and if it is not, it is odd. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it. If you'll do some examples, you will understand it perfectly. It's not a big deal. But the thing I want you guys to understand here is this scanner class, basically. So as I told you that it allows you to take input from various sources. Here we have created the scanner object called S. As you can see, this is the scanner object S. The argument system.in specified that the input will be taken from the keyboard. Alright, the next int method here, as you can see, the next int. So this method is used to read an integer value from the user. Once the user type a number and presses enter, it stores that number into the number variable, this variable. As simple as that. So this is how you can take the input. Alright. So now let's save it first. We have saved it. Now let's try to run this. So as you can see, a message is being displayed, enter the number. So now whichever number we enter, this program will tell us whether it is even or odd. So let's say I'm adding, let's say 16 in this time, and 16 is even, it is telling us. Now again, save it and run it. Now we'll write, let's say 657, and we know that 657 is an odd number. 657 is odd, and let's say run again. Now let's write 1298. We know it's an even number. So 1298 is an even number. As simple as that. I hope you guys understood how to take the input from the user. So basically you have to use this import java.util_scanner package. Then inside this package there's a scanner class. It's a part of this package. Then this is the syntax, basically scanner. So here is the name of the object that you want to do. The new scanner system.in. So this is the syntax. Then after this, as we know that we have displayed this message, enter the number, it's up to you whatsoever you want to display. Then here you are actually taking the input. So we have declared a variable named number, and using the help of this object we are basically taking the input. Next.int, it is the method that I already discussed with you guys. So this and this is the syntax of taking the input. I hope you guys understood this thing. Alright, so this was about if else statement. Now let's understand the next thing, which is else if statement. Alright, and else if statement comes into play when you want to check multiple conditions, not just one. It's like saying if this first condition is true, do this, but if that's not true, check another condition. This way you can have different actions depending on different scenarios. If the first if condition is false, the program moves on to check the else if condition. If that's true, it runs the corresponding code. If neither condition is true, you can even follow up with an else statement to handle anything that doesn't match. In short, else if is used to add more choices and handle more possibilities when one condition isn't enough. To make you guys understand, it is very simple. First of all, you can't use condition with else. You have to use if with it. So in this case, as we know, else if is used because we want to put a condition in else block also. So that is why else if we have used. So this is basically used when we have to use multiple choices are there. So that is how we use. So as we can see on the screen, first if condition is there. So the code inside this if block will execute if the condition 1 is true. If this condition is satisfied, that is condition 1 is satisfied, then only this block if block will run. If not, then there is else if condition, which is another condition. So the block inside this one will execute if condition 2 is true. Alright. Then we have another else if. The block inside it will execute if this condition is true. And let's say if neither of the condition is true, then we have this default else, we can say. This will execute if all the conditions are false. Like let's say if none of the conditions are met, then this else block in the end will execute. So yeah, it's pretty simple. You don't have to worry about it. We'll do an example to make you guys understand. Alright. Now let's go back to our code editor. Alright, so we are back at Eclipse IDE. So now let's do an example. Alright, so as we can see, we have to do an example on else if conditions. Alright. So first of all, here we'll start with declaring a variable. Let's say the variable is number, and we have assigned a value to it, which is 75. Now we will use an if condition first. If number is, let's say, greater than 90. Alright. If number is greater than 90, then we will print system.out.println. Here we will print the grade is A. So basically, if this guy has scored number greater than 90, then his grade is A. Alright. Now here we can't use else condition because we have to mention the grade for other ranges of numbers as well, right? So here what we'll do is we'll use an else if statement. So as we already told you that we can't use condition with else, so we'll use else if. Alright. So in else if, here we'll mention number greater than, let's say, 70. Then here we will print system.out.println. The grade is B. Alright. Now there are some other ranges also. So again, else if is there. I hope you guys are understanding why we are using else if, because we have to cover different ranges. So in programming, you will face similar challenges in various, coding thing and programming thing. So you have to have the knowledge of this thing. So let's say the number is greater than, if the number is greater than 50, then what grade it should be? Again, system.out.println. Here the grade would be C. Alright. If the number is greater than 50, then C. If it is greater than 70, then it is B. If greater than 90, it is A. Alright. Now let's say if the number doesn't fall in any of these category, alright, then there is a default, you can say, else condition. Here what will happen is, if none of the conditions are satisfied, then this particular else block will execute. And you guys have noticed we haven't used condition with it because of the obvious reasons we can't use condition with else. So if none of these conditions are met or not satisfied, then this particular block else will run. Alright. So here that automatically means the number is less than 50, which is the grade is D. Alright. So if number is greater than 50, then it is C. Greater than 70, it is B. Greater than 90, it is A. But if it doesn't fall in any of these categories, which means it is less than these, then the grade is D. Alright. As simple as that. So now let's save it and run it. As we know, 75, which falls under the category of B. Now let's change it and let's say make it 92. Alright. Save it. The grade is A. As number is greater than 90, so this particular condition is executed. Now let's say the number is, let's say, 45. Alright. Save it and run it. The grade is D, this else block, because none of the conditions are met. So in this case, this will run. Alright. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm conveying. To make you guys understand, let's take 3 scenarios in this case also. Alright, so taking the 3 scenarios. So first scenario is there in else if ladder statement condition. So the first condition is if the variable value is 112, that is 112. In this case, as you can see, the first condition is if variable is greater than 0, which is true. So in this case, the if block will run, and if block is already executed, then it will skip all the other statements and it will go to the code after the statements. All right, as simple as that. Condition 2 is there. So now as we can see here, the value of the variable is 10, and the first if condition says if the value of the variable is greater than 10, then in this case this block will execute. But we know the value is not greater than 10, but it is equal to 10. So as we know in else if, we can see variable value should be equal to 10, then only else if block will execute. So in this case, this else if block will execute, and then after executing, it will skip all the other blocks and go to the code after the statements, after the if else statements. All right, taking the example of the third one, which is if condition 1 and condition 2 both is false. Okay, here the value of var variable is minus 10. So if condition says value should be greater than 10, which is not in this case, and else if condition says value should be equal to 10, which is not in this case. So condition 1 and 2 is not satisfied. So the code will skip these two statements and go to the default else block that we mentioned. So it will run through the whatever the code inside the else block will be executed, and then it will go to the code after the else if statements. So yeah, this is how else if statement works. I hope you guys understood this thing. All right, now let's understand the another important statement, which is nested if else statements. So in real life, we often make decisions that depend on the results of previous decisions. For example, imagine you're deciding what to do on a weekend based on multiple factors. Let's say the weather, how much free time you have, and whether your friends are available. You might start by checking the weather, and then depending on whether it's sunny or rainy, you will make another decision about what to do next. In programming, this kind of decision making is done using nested if else statement, where one decision or condition leads to another, creating a tree of decisions. Nested if else statements are if else statements that are contained within other if else statements. They allow for more complex decision making processes where multiple conditions need to be evaluated. Alright, as we can see on the screen, there's a syntax. So syntax of nested if else statement. So first, as we can see, condition 1 is there. So if the condition is met, that is condition 1 is met, this particular thing will execute, this particular block will execute, and then it will go to the condition number 2. So now if condition 1 is true, that is it is satisfied, then only it will go to condition number 2. Alright, now the block inside the condition number 2 will execute only if condition 1 and condition 2 are both true. Alright, if both the conditions are true, then only the code inside condition 2 will execute, which is obvious. Alright, now let's say if the condition 2 is not satisfied, then in that case this else block that we can see on the screen, that particular else block will execute. And we also mentioned code to execute if condition 1 is true but condition 2 is false. Alright, so this is the else block for the condition 2 if. Alright, so now as we can see the last else. So the last else block will execute only if condition 1 is also false. I hope you guys understand. So first condition 1 is checked. If that is true, it will go to condition 2. If that is true, then everything is good. But let's say if condition 1 is true but condition 2 is not satisfied, in that case it will go to the second last else condition. Alright, in that case that second last else block will execute. But let's say even the first condition, that is first if condition is not true, then simply it will ignore all the if else thing and goes to the last else block, which we have mentioned, code to execute if condition 1 is false. Even if you guys are getting confused, you don't need to get confused. We'll do a simple example on it to make you guys understand this. Alright, so let's go back to our code editor, that is Eclipse. Alright, we are back on Eclipse. Here let's do the example. Alright, so here we are. Alright, so first of all we'll do a simple example of it. let's make it a complex example so that you guys also can understand. So what should we do? Let's do an example in which a person should be allocated a particular, let's say, a loan, all right, and based on certain conditions the loan is to be granted. Okay, so let's say the conditions are the annual income should be greater than something, the credit score should be greater than something, the age should be greater than something. So we'll make conditions based on these, and if the conditions are satisfied, then the loan will be granted. All right, we'll make a simple program of it. So for that we have to first create some variables, and for each of these things, the conditions that we mentioned, we have to create a variable. We'll start with the first one, which is, let's say, annual income. Let's say the annual income of the current employee, the user, let's say, is 50,000. Okay, and another variable, let's say, credit score. So the credit score of the current person or the user is 750, let's say. Okay, and the age is 25. Okay, now here we will declare a variable named, let's say, is eligible, and the data type of that variable we will keep as boolean, so that it should be true or false. All right, so boolean. So let's name the variable eligible, is eligible. All right, so let's, by default we'll keep it false. Okay, so yeah, now first we'll use here the nested if else thing. So first we'll be checking the annual income of that particular user or a person, then we'll check the credit score, and then age. Like that we'll proceed. Okay, so first condition that we'll be using here is annual income. Here, annual income. So let's say we want at least the annual income should be 40k. All right, so here we are basically checking the income. All right, now if this condition is true, then there is another condition, there is another eligibility criteria, you can say, that is the credit score. So now if the credit score should be, in this case, should be greater than 700, then only you can proceed. All right, now again, this is nested if else, you know that. So now again, the third eligibility criteria is to check the age of the person. So age variable, age should be greater than equal to 21, that is 21, and the age should be 21, 22, 23, like that only. All right, now if all these three conditions are met, then we will change the, we will basically assign the value true. All right, so is eligible, I think some mistake is there, just copy paste it. Yeah, so yeah, we will assign true to this value, as we know that previously the default value that we assigned was false. Now if all these three conditions met, that is all these three eligibility criteria is met, then the condition, then here we will assign this true. Okay, so here we have assigned it, then only it is true if these three conditions are met. Now here we'll use an else block also. Like let's say these two conditions are met, that is the annual score is, annual income is greater than 40k and the credit score is greater than 700, but the person is younger than 21, let's say. So in this case we'll write else block, and this else block is for this if condition, basically this one. All right, so here we'll write the else block. So here we will simply mention you are too young to apply for the loan. All right, now this is the else block for the if condition. All right, now let's say this else thing is done. Now here we'll use else block for this one also. All right, first of all let's create system.out.println. Here we'll write your credit score is less than 700. So let's write your credit score is low, let's say. So this was the case if the annual income is greater than 40,000, but the credit score is less than 700. then in this case this else block will execute. Okay, as simple as that. All right, so we have used else block for this one also. Now coming to the annual income else block, here again we'll write else. Now again system dot out dot println. Now here we'll write your annual income is low, and that is why you can't apply. All right, so we have mentioned all these three things. Now after this we'll use a if statement. Like let's say if all of these things are met, then we'll use if statement. If is eligible, that is if this thing is true, we don't have to make it equal to true, we can simply write like this also, it will also mean the same thing. Okay, so if eligible is true, then what we'll do is we'll print a message saying congratulations, you are eligible for the loan. Okay, congrats, you are eligible for the loan. All right, so this is the message that will display if all the three conditions are met. That is, if is eligible is true. If eligible is true, then this condition will print. All right, this statement will print. Now here also we'll use another else block. We'll use say, that means if all these three conditions are not met, then this is the, you can say, a default one, system dot out dot println. Here you can write you are not eligible for the loan. All right, so this is how nested if else things work. Nested if else statements are being used in programming a lot. You need to practice all these examples, then only you will be able to understand. By just seeing the tutorials, it won't help you in that much extent. For you guys, we'll be adding these examples in the description. You can download it with the explanations, and then you can practice on your own. All right, so now first let's see if it is working or not. We have saved it, and let's see if there are any errors. So as we can see, our annual income is greater than 50,000. Credit score is 750, which is greater than the limit that they have set. Age is 25, which is greater than 21. So in this case, we are basically eligible for the loan. All right, now let's say if my credit score is, let's say, 600 only, and let's save it and run it. As you can see, your credit score is low. Unfortunately, you are not eligible for the loan. So it will display these messages. So it is displaying this message that we have put in the else condition for the credit score, as you can see, and also along with this message, unfortunately one, this is also being displayed. All right, now let's say our credit score is 750 itself, but our age is, let's say, 20. Okay, now let's run it. As you can see, here also it is running correctly, as you are too young to apply for the loan. Unfortunately, you are not eligible for the loan. So I hope you guys understood how we use this nested if else conditions to make use of this program and print the desired output. I want you guys to practice on the examples that I've did and any additional examples that you can find on the internet. So yeah, this is how you're gonna do it. Now coming to the next thing, which is Java switch statements. So Java switch statements. So you have probably seen if else statements where the program checks conditions one by one. The main difference with the switch statement is that it can have more than one way to be executed. With if else, each statement is checked in sequence, one at a time. If the first condition is false, the next one is checked, and so on. The switch statement, on the other hand, jumps directly to the matching case based on the value of the expression. It doesn't need to evaluate each option like an if else chain. This makes the switch statement faster and more efficient in scenarios where you are dealing with fixed number of options. Instead of multiple evaluations, it directly looks for a match, reducing unnecessary comparisons. But yeah, make sure it is preferable when you're dealing with a fixed number of options. Alright. So to make you guys understand, there's a syntax. So first, as we can see, there's a switch statement. Inside switch, there's an expression. And if that expression matches with the case value, then that particular block will execute. For example, if the expression matches with the case value 2, then the code inside the case value 2, that particular case will execute. And if it matches, the expression matches the case number 3, then that particular case will execute. And let's say if none of the cases matches, then there's a default keyword, as you can see. So the default keyword defines the code to execute when none of the cases matches. As simple as that. Along with this, we'll be using break statement also. So the break statement can be used to exit a loop early. So let's do an example of this one also. Alright. So let's go to the Eclipse. So we are back on Eclipse, and yeah, let's do an example. Alright, so now we'll be doing an example of switch statements. So for that, first of all, we'll declare a variable day and assign a value 3. Alright. So we'll be changing this. So it's not like you have to declare it 3 also. Just a random value I've taken. So now here we'll do a program in which we will be mentioning the number of day. Like let's say we'll start with Monday. Alright. Let's say day 1 is Monday, day 2 is Tuesday, day 3 is Wednesday. Like that we'll do. And whatever the value we'll put here, based on that, that particular day will be displayed. Alright. For example, here we have taken 3. So according to the number that we have set, it should be Wednesday. Monday 1, Tuesday 2, Wednesday 3. So it should be like this only. Alright. So we'll be doing a program like that. So with the help of switch statement, we'll do this. So int day equals to 3. Now switch statement, and then here we'll mention the day, that is the expression. Now here, alright. Now here inside switch statement, there should be the cases. For example, there's a case 1. Inside case 1, we'll write system.out.println, and the day is Monday. We'll be printing this. The day is Monday, alright. And then as we mentioned, break statement to jump out of the block basically, or loop. Now there is case 2. This means if the value is 2 here, the case 2, case 1 is, it's like that only, right? System.out.println, the day is Tuesday. Alright, again here we'll be using break. Now similarly we'll do for other cases also. Just copy it and then we'll change the numbers. Case 2, here case 3, which is Wednesday. Case 4 is Thursday. Case 5 is Friday. And case 6, Saturday. Now 6 cases are there, 1 is left, that is the Sunday case. Case 7, the day is Sunday, the happy day. Alright. So now along with this, like let's say if a user puts in the value 9 or 10 or 8, anything like that, or the minus value. So in this case, what should a program should do? So for this case, we'll be using a default value, okay? So default value, we don't have to put any expression because it's a default value. System.out.println. Alright, now here we'll mention invalid number, and then we'll mention please enter the number between 1 and 7. Alright, simple. Please enter the number between 1 and 7. Now after this, again we'll use break to jump out. Alright, so let's do this. I have saved it. Now let's hope it works. The day is Wednesday. Alright, now let's change it to 6, and the day is Saturday. Case number 6 is Saturday. So as we know, this 6 matches with this expression, that is case number 6. So that is why this particular day is being, this particular code is being executed. Alright, it's very simple. And if let's try to put 7, save it, it will display the day is Sunday. Alright, now as we discuss, let's try to put 11. So as we know that there are only 7 days in a week, so we can't put any other number. So by default that we have here, put the message in the default case, which is invalid number, please enter the number between 1 and 7. So yeah, this is how you make use of switch statements. It's very easy and it is preferable in cases where you knew the number of cases. I hope you guys understood this, and I want you guys to do this example first. Why? Because I want you to do this example by not doing this but taking the input. As we know, you have to use import java.util.scanner package, and then I've already discussed the syntax in the code. Use that syntax and take the input from the user, enter the input, and then based on the input display the output. It is very simple. Just try it and that's it. So, and that's I repeat, and so this is how you can master this switch statements, loops in Java. It is very crucial concept in Java. So I want you guys to really understand and practice these concepts. And that's a wrap on if-else statements in Java. Hopefully you now see how powerful and essential this concept is for making your programs more dynamic and responsive. Whether it's deciding what message to display, what action to take, or how your app reacts to different inputs, if-else is the backbone of smart, flexible code. Now, if you want to practice the examples we used in this tutorial with explanations, and that's a wrap on if-else statements in Java. Hopefully, you now see how powerful and essential this concept is for you for making your programs more dynamic and responsive. Whether it's deciding what message to display, what action to take, or how your app reacts to different inputs, if-else is the backbone of smart, flexible code. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Do you want to take your tech skills to the next level? Our Masters in Computer Science program is perfect for anyone looking to advance their career in development. In this program, you will learn advanced Java concepts, data structures, design and analysis algorithms, front-end and back-end development, system design, and much more. You will gain the knowledge and skills needed to become a leader in your field. Don't miss out. Click the link in the description to start your journey to mastering computer science today. In the next video, we will be exploring loops in Java and various important concepts of Java. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching this video. Keep practicing, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next one.